Why dreams require deadlines is a truth most people miss. A dream without a deadline is just a fantasy. It sounds nice. It feels good, but it stays stuck in the land of someday. And someday is a dangerous word because someday is not a day on the calendar. Someday keeps people trapped in hoping instead of doing. Someday lets you believe that you'll start when life slows down, when you have more time, when you have more money. But all that does is delay the life you were created to live. When you put a date on a dream, something powerful happens. You stop making excuses and you start making moves. Suddenly, procrastination doesn't feel so comfortable because you know the clock is ticking. The difference between people who achieve and people who just wish is that achievers create urgency. They decide this is the year, this is the month, this is the day, and they back it up with action. Deadlines don't just make you move, they make you grow. When you know you have a specific amount of time to accomplish something, you become more creative. You start looking for solutions you've never seen before. You stop waiting for perfect circumstances and start working with what you have. Urgency unlocks resourcefulness. That pressure you feel, that's the same pressure that produces diamonds. And the beautiful thing about a deadline is it keeps you accountable. It gives you something to measure against. You can't lie to yourself anymore about making progress. When there's no finish line in sight, a deadline will tell you the truth about your habits. It will expose whether you are really committed or just interested. Yes, deadlines can feel uncomfortable. Yes, they can feel scary. But fear is not a stop sign. Fear is a signal that you're about to do something that matters. Fear without a deadline becomes paralysis, but fear with a deadline becomes focus. Suddenly, instead of letting fear control you, you use it as fuel to move forward. And here's the most powerful part. When you honor your own deadlines, you become someone new. The dream is important, but who you become on the way to the dream is even more important. You become more disciplined, more resilient, more trustworthy to yourself. Your confidence grows not just because you achieved something, but because you prove to yourself that you can keep a promise to yourself. So don't just dream, put a date on it, decide when you will do it, and then take action like your future depends on it, because it does. Every day you wait, the dream drifts further away. Every day you move toward it, the dream gets closer to you. The world is waiting for you to stop saying and start saying, by this day. Don't wait for perfect timing. Create a deadline, create urgency, and watch how fast your dream starts running toward you. Deadlines force you to move from excuses to execution because they remove the false comfort of later. As long as there is no clear finish line, your brain will always find a reason to push things off. You'll tell yourself you're tired today, that you'll start tomorrow, that you'll wait until the kids are grown, until the business slows down, until life gets easier. But the truth is, there will always be a reason to delay. A deadline disrupts that cycle. It creates a sense of urgency that won't let you stay still. When you put a deadline on your dream, your priorities shift. The things that used to distract you don't hold the same power because you know the clock is ticking. You start saying no to the things that waste your time and yes to the things that move you forward. Suddenly excuses feel heavy and action feels lighter because every day counts. Deadlines don't care about your mood or your motivation. They demand movement whether you feel like it or not. That's where the power is. Execution is not about being ready. It's about deciding. It's about saying, I may not feel prepared, but I will act anyway. And when you act, you gain momentum. That momentum starts breaking down the excuses you used to believe. Each step you take silences the voice that told you it couldn't be done. Deadlines push you to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating progress with the moment you have. They force you out of planning mode and into doing mode. And when you begin to execute consistently, you stop being a prisoner of your excuses and start being the architect of your future. Deadlines force you to move from excuses to execution because they strip away the illusion that you have unlimited time. As long as there's no set date, your brain will always find a way to justify waiting. I'll start next week. I'll do it when things calm down. I'll take action when I feel ready. The problem is, ready never comes and later becomes never. A deadline destroys that lie. It creates a line in the sand that says, this is when it must be done. And that clarity forces you to make decisions now instead of putting them off. Excuses are comfortable because they let you stay in motion without moving forward. They give you permission to procrastinate, but a deadline removes that permission. When the clock is ticking, comfort loses its grip. You stop tolerating wasted time because you know every hour matters. Your schedule starts bending around your goal, and suddenly excuses feel like luxuries you can't afford. Deadlines also shift your mindset from perfection to progress. Without one, you might spend weeks overthinking, planning, tweaking, and waiting for the perfect time. But when you know there's a date coming, you focus on what needs to be done now. You stop trying to get it perfect and start trying to get it moving. This is where execution begins. Action silences fear, builds momentum, and gives you feedback you could never get by just thinking about it. The moment you move, the excuse machine starts breaking down because your brain now sees evidence that you're serious. Deadlines don't just demand action, they demand courage. They pull you out of hesitation and force you to step into the arena where growth happens. Urgency creates innovation because pressure has a way of pulling out solutions you didn't even know you had. When you give yourself unlimited time to accomplish something, you tend to overthink, overplan, and overanalyze. But when you set a deadline, when the clock is ticking, you stop looking for the perfect way and you start looking for the possible way. Urgency forces you to work with what you have instead of waiting for what you wish you had. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history happened under pressure. When there was no time to waste, people became more resourceful, more creative, and more focused. The same happens to you when you set a deadline. Your brain starts filtering out distractions and zeroing in on solutions. You begin to ask better questions, make faster decisions, and take bolder steps. Urgency strips away hesitation because hesitation costs time, and you don't have time to lose. You stop letting fear paralyze you, and you start letting it fuel you. You become willing to try new strategies, take risks, and think outside the box because you know standing still is no longer an option. Deadlines create a healthy pressure that activates innovation. They push you to do things differently, to work smarter instead of just harder, and to maximize every moment. That pressure, instead of breaking you, shapes you into someone who can find a way even when it feels like there isn't one. Deadlines keep you accountable because they give you a clear point of measurement. Without a deadline, it's easy to fool yourself into believing you're making progress when you're really just staying busy. You can tell yourself, I'm working on it for weeks, months, even years, but without a date, there's nothing to hold you to the standard of completion. A deadline is a mirror that shows you whether you're actually moving forward or just talking about moving forward. When you set a real deadline, you can no longer hide behind vague intentions. You know exactly when the result is due, and that knowledge forces you to track your actions, your effort, and your results. It keeps you honest with yourself. And when you share that deadline with someone else, a mentor, a friend, a community, the accountability grows even stronger. Now, it's not just a private promise, it's a public commitment. Accountability is powerful because it builds consistency. If you know something must be done by a certain time, you will show up differently. You'll plan better, focus deeper, and eliminate the distractions that used to steal your time. You'll stop operating on feelings and start operating on principles. Deadlines also give you feedback. If you hit the target, you know what's working. If you miss it, you know what needs to be adjusted. Either way, the deadline forces you to confront the truth and make changes. It keeps you from drifting and ensures that every day counts toward the outcome you said you wanted. Deadlines turn fear into focus because they redirect the energy of fear into something productive. Fear by itself is paralyzing. It makes you hesitate, it makes you overthink, and it convinces you to wait for the right moment. But when there's a deadline, you no longer have the luxury of sitting in fear. You don't have time to dwell on what could go wrong because you're too busy figuring out what needs to go right. Fear thrives in open-ended situations. When there's no clear timeline, fear grows louder, feeding you more reasons to delay. But a deadline shrinks fear down to size by forcing you to act despite it. You stop letting fear be the driver and you put it in the passenger seat. The same adrenaline that used to make you freeze now gives you laser-like focus. When you know the clock is ticking, your priorities sharpen. You start asking better questions. What's the next step? What actually matters right now? What can I do today to get closer? Fear stops being an excuse to wait and becomes a signal to prepare and execute. This is the hidden gift of a deadline. It transforms fear into fuel. Instead of running from the thing that scares you, you run toward the action that will conquer it. That shift builds courage, and courage compounds. Every time you meet a deadline in the face of fear, your confidence grows. You realize that fear doesn't have to stop you, it can sharpen you. Deadlines reveal who you're becoming because they expose your habits, your discipline, and your character in real time. When you set a deadline and stick to it, You prove to yourself that you are someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted with bigger dreams. And if you miss a deadline, that moment reveals where you still need to grow, maybe in consistency, maybe in focus, maybe in commitment. Either way, deadlines show you the truth about yourself. Every deadline you meet shapes you into a stronger, sharper version of who you were before. It's not just about what you achieve, it's about what you had to become to achieve it. You become more intentional with your time. You learn to say no to distractions that don't serve your purpose. You build resilience because deadlines rarely wait for ideal circumstances. They force you to push through discomfort, tiredness, and even fear. And over time, something incredible happens. You start to respect yourself more. You trust your own word. You believe in your own ability to deliver. That belief spills over into every area of your life, your relationships, your business, your health, because you know that when you set a goal